Hello and welcome to Podcast Review, Episode 5. This is the Just Fly Performance Podcast, Episode 27 review. So Joel Smith and the special guest was Rana Reider. He is a very high-level sprints coach. He has coaches out of Holland. He's an American guy. He coaches Trendy Martina and Daphne Shippers. He also coaches Christian Taylor in the triple jump, who is the second best triple jumper ever behind Jonathan Edwards. He has a couple of British sprinters as well, I believe. Then I didn't get loads of points out of this, but I got quite a few. I got a few very specific to certain athletes ones, which there's only 6 points, but the last 4 are all specific to certain people. So he said you have to feel the technique before you see it. So modern athletes now are overly reliant on video analysis. They like to film every rep. Even if it's just at their working sets, they like to film every single rep of their working sets. And personally, I think that's way too many. I think you lose the kinesthetic awareness. I think it delays the learning process I think it delays the learning process drastically. I think you become a little bit reliant, and I would say weak-minded, because you rely on this. Extra feedback, and you don't learn to develop your feedback yourself. I think it delays the learning process a lot. I've always thought that, but it was good to hear someone elite level say it. So he was saying you have to feel the technique before you see it. So get a good feeling of what the technique should feel like. Drill that before you see it. And he also said you have to learn to work through fatigue. Now, he said this was a couple of examples he gave where some people came in to him and they were decent level but not great. Like, they weren't elite level. And they were like, I feel a bit tired today, I feel a bit slow. And he was like, just get over it. Literally, why are you here? If you're here to get better, so just train. And I do agree with that. Pretty much 100% I agree with that. I think you have to learn through fatigue. I think too many people kind of follow the, I don't want to call him out, but screw it. The Squat University kind of way of just being like, as soon as any little tiny niggle or little tiny movement pattern slightly changes, they're like, stop, we need to go back to doing dead bugs. And I think that has its place for some clients. I think especially with fatigue as well, I think that does have its place for some people. I would say for some people who maybe work night shifts and their sleep pattern is all over the place, I think that can be a little bit more appropriate. But if you have any normal person who hasn't got any illnesses or anything, they're going to be fine. They just need to get over it and work hard. He did say the exception was at the elite level. At the highest level, obviously, when they show signs of fatigue, then that's when you obviously, I guess, change it up a little bit. But I think I can't think of many lifters I've ever coached or coach currently who are too kind of, I feel a little bit tired, so I'm not going to train today. I don't think they would be my athletes if they did, because I probably wouldn't get on with them at all. I think you have to learn to get through something. You have to basically just learn to be strong once in a while. But yeah, they were the 2 main points of the podcast, to be fair. It was a good podcast, it was nice, but a lot of the stuff they talked about was quite chatty. And but they did come up with some good points. So they said that this is all based on individual differences, but Christian Taylor, the triple jumper I talked about, I don't know, must weigh about 80 kilos, 85 kilos. Hang cleaned, and I'm going to assume this is a hang power clean because it's athletics. Hang, possibly power, but cleaned 155 kilos, which is disgusting. I'm going to assume it's nearly double body weight. It might be wrong. Let me just go Google quickly. But he did this 2 days before Olympics, or the Olympic trials, one of them. And he absolutely dominated his event that day. And obviously he's an Olympic gold medalist. But obviously a lot of people would absolutely steer clear from heavy lifting close to competition. He hang clean 155. So according to Google. Mate, according to Google, his weight is 79 kilos. So nearly double body weight for a hang, possibly power clean. Even if it was just a hang clean, it's still absolutely absurd for someone who isn't a weightlifter. For instance, so he's on double body weight. My best hang clean, I don't even know what my best hang clean is. My best clean is 1.7 times body weight, so he's way ahead of me, and I train obviously as a weightlifter. So this is absurd. This is very, very, very strong. Like I said, 2 days before the Olympics, so very interesting. It goes to show that you don't always maybe need a taper in its traditional sense. He's a bit of a weird one apparently. So he comes from a 400-meter background as well. He takes 3 days to recover from high-intensity speed work. So if he's doing maybe, like, I don't know, 40 to 80-meter sprints, high-intensity flying sprints maybe, 3 whole days to neurally recover. Whereas it takes Daphne Shippers 1 day. So he did talk a lot about the difference between male and female, but it takes her only 1 day. Could be because the force is going into the ground a little bit less. In Shippers, who is one of the best, probably consistently over the past 10 or so years, I don't know about 10 years, but been one of the best female sprinters, at least in Europe. She's always been a medalist. She's always been a kind of finalist. And then obviously Dina Asher-Smith came out for GB. But yeah, she's been unreal. And she only takes 1 day. Christian Taylor, however, can do things like 3 hard sets of 350 meters. So a lot more volume. And then literally the next day, jump at his best. So it's interesting how different people work and different people respond to things. I think this is quite a good example with me, actually, is that I could always do high-intensity speed work pretty much every day. I could do it every day and be absolutely fine. But if I did jumps, it could be because I was always a heavier athlete. But if I did jumps, triple jumps or bounds, it would take me, I'd say, at least 2 days before I could do plyometrics, heavy plyometrics again, before I could do intensive plyometrics again. I could do extensive kind of rudiment hops and pogos and whatnot, but yeah, interesting. Charandi Martine, on the other hand, who's, he's older, but he's unbelievable. He's older, he's about 33 or 34, I think now. Takes him a whole day to recover from literally a tempo day, and it could be because of his age. He is still getting PBs though, so he is getting better, even though he's older. It takes him a whole day to recover from a tempo day, so a slow, relaxing day kind of thing. It takes him a whole day, whereas it takes Shippers a whole day to recover from a high-intensity speed day. So have to program for people individually, especially at the highest level. I would actually argue that you don't have to program for people that differently at a lower level in certain sports to still get benefit, but definitely at the higher level you want to be doing you kind of want to be making it as individual as possible, because everyone reacts differently, and that only comes with time and knowing the athlete. So yes, you can personally write a program for someone the first time you write them a program, but the more you get to know, the more you get to respond to them, the more you can really make it personal now that you know the intricacies of them. So who can I think of as an example? Okay, a good example is probably I'll take a weightlifting example, and I'll take a non-weightlifter example. So non-weightlifter example, if you think about my shot put athlete Alex, he could do squat and bench multiple times a week and be fine. Now obviously he's a very compressive athlete. So he could do that heavy lifting multiple times a week, whereas Devontae, my sprinter, it could be due to the different events. Obviously 100 meters and shot put are very different. We've found that with him, he only really needs to squat once a week. And even then, it's not incredibly heavy. It can be a front squat variation. He's got pretty good mobility, so he can do front squats okay. He goes heavy on back squat, like he will feel sore for the next couple of days. And it will obviously impact his running a little bit, which is the thing you want to do the least as an S&C coach. You don't want to impact their actual sport. Just for some arbitrary strength gains that don't really mean anything in relation to running fast. So yeah, that's the difference there. And then in terms of, I guess, weightlifting, maybe someone like, I guess Claire's a good example of someone who I could give kind of 90 to, well, let's say 90% plus snatch and clean jerk every day, and should easily be able to get to 90% every day easily. Now, I think for myself, I've done that in the past with snatch before and been fine. I definitely could not do it with clean jerk. I could maybe do it with clean, maybe, but even then I probably couldn't. I could do it with snatch for a good few weeks. 90% that is. Claire would get weight like at least 95, most days probably. But if I gave that to someone like, Burbs or Stevie Steve, I'm not sure that would work. Now, their jobs are both slightly kind of more physical, I would say. I know we're PTs, so it's still physical, but Burbs is NHS, obviously working in the NHS at the moment, and on placement, and Stephen, excuse me, has clients that he has to move around as well, so their hours are crazy, so they would respond differently. They would fatigue a lot quicker. They probably wouldn't be able to handle that intensity. Even if it was low volume, I don't think they'd be able to handle that intensity. I think neurally they'd be so drained that they would suffer. But some people are just okay with it. Now, it might be a gender thing, it might be a work thing, it's everything, obviously. But yeah, that's some good examples. So that's basically what I got from the podcast. It was an okay podcast, a good one. Next episode is gonna be slightly different. We're not gonna do Just Fly Performance podcast or Travis Mash's Barbell Life one. We are going to do one that Laura sent me. I forgot what it was called. I forgot what podcast it's on, but I think it's talking about how to build power without using Olympic weightlifting. So thank you very much. See you later.